The overwhelming feeling that students keep giving to me about their experience in school and about their experience in their life is that nobody cares. Nobody really cares enough to get involved with them. They may care about whether they're learning the subject matter or not, whether they're teaching them well enough, but they're not caring about them as an individual, what they're going through.
What you're most worried about, you're worried about him getting addicted to speed again.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what's really scaring you.
That I don't want it to happen.
And you told him this. And what does he say?
He just says, like, any answer, like, don't worry, I won't, I just need a little help to get through the day because I get so tired. You know, he goes, school really gets me down. And I just go, well, apparently it shouldn't. You know, and I try and talk to him, and if he does love me, he will care. I think he will anyway. He'll care about what I feel inside.
Do you think that he'd be willing to come with you together and the three of us could talk? Or maybe find out if something is bothering him?
I asked him that he might resent it, you know?
Yeah, he doesn't know me at all.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't know me either.
Yeah, but like I've heard about you, I know you're a really good teacher and you understand people. You know, that's why I came to you.
Yeah, I try, but mainly I would really like to try and get him to understand himself and what's happening and that's a pretty big thing. At this point, he's saying, in essence, I'd rather take drugs than be involved with you, and we're not going to get too far until we get him involved. And even if it's not today, if it's sometime this weekend, or tonight, or late afternoon, or whenever.
Terms such as tolerance, habituation, and physical dependence are probably the keys to why people get hung up with drugs. Tolerance is a situation where an individual takes a drug over a long period of time. And as a result of taking that drug over a long period of time, he requires...
My idea is that no one approach is going to be right for all the kids in that class. So there's a lot of different things that I try, and one of them is that lecture. And one of them would be, having a guest speaker. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I have a feeling that maybe for some kids this is a valuable thing, and it might work for some kids. The kids who are most turned off to it seem to be the kids who are most heavily involved with drugs. The kids who really enjoy that lecture many times are the intellectual kids who are not very hung up with drugs anyway. But I think really when I think about it, it's the kids who probably don't need to hear it in terms of their drug involvement.
What is in this kit is simply a display of the various items. These assimilate the color pretty well, but I looked at this and I noticed that really the colors aren't exactly what they really are in the true capsule form. If you'd like to see the kit, do come up.
We are going to assume, as I've talked about for those who weren't here, we're going to assume that the drug is legal. So if it was available to you, what would be the criteria that you would use to make a decision as to whether this is a good thing for you to do or not? Now, you're all to make a choice. You may change your mind at any time during the debate, and tomorrow, if you would like, you can change sides of the room. Now, my tendency is, and it's a bad tendency, that I want to get involved in it. Because I tend to do these kinds. I tend to be involved too much in these kinds of things. Okay, would anybody like to start to talk about why, let's see, this is a negative outweighs the positive. Kim.
Okay, well, I feel that life, you only get to go through it once. And there's so much to do in life. There's so many things to do. And I don't think that taking pot is helping you to experience all the things you can do.
Harris?
I smoked dope before, and I didn't like it. It didn't give me any thrills or anything, like I could have more fun not loaded.
You people, that disagree with marijuana, you seem to be really concerned about it, But I think you should just mind your own business, because I don't give a hoot about you guys playing football.
But hold a minute. Nobody is saying... I don't think... All right, wait a minute. One of the things... Wait a minute, let me make this clear in the debate. One of the reasons I phrased the question the way I did is because nobody is sitting over here telling you what to do or what not to do. They're sitting over here, or you're sitting over here because you've made a decision for yourself. That's all. And all all we're doing now is looking at what went into making up that decision. But nobody's telling you that you shouldn't or should do this, and you shouldn't tell them they should or shouldn't do it. All I would say is be consistent. If you're concerned with what you put in your body, then be concerned with what you put in your body in all walks of life. Everything. But don't tell me you're concerned with air pollution and I see you smoking a cigarette or a joint. That's hypocritical.
When you say that you're against the oil companies making pollution, that's affecting everybody. Everyone's going to suffer from that. But when you smoke a cigarette or something, that's your own decision based on what you want, and you can still, you might hate yourself. You might, I'm not saying this is good,
right.
But you might say, I don't really care out to myself. I'm no good. He needs help. The person said that I need help, but
You're right.
still you might say that. But he might still care about other people. And you shouldn't do it with everyone else.
Okay. I accept that as an exception to what I just said. You're right.
Yeah.
It's not purely hypocritical.
People should neglect that.
But all I want to do is just say that.
Sound like a bunch of missionaries.
Yeah, I didn't hear that at all.
I think the reason maybe I smoke is because I'm bored, I don't got too many friends, I got nothing to do.
But that's sad.
Yeah, maybe, but at least I'm happier.
I don't know. I think it's sad to have me hear you say that. I mean, I don't see you as a happy person. You say I'm happy. But what I'm saying is that if you see things this way, that maybe if these people see it this way, that it's possible to find out how they're accomplishing what they are. And maybe it's possible for you. Sitting home and getting high in your room, you're never going to find it. I mean, that's sad. That's to me like the alcoholic who'll sit around on Skid Row and get drunk. Now, I don't see him as being a very happy person. But there are other possibilities. There are ways to get out of your boredom. There are ways to do things. That's one of the things we're going to talk about on Wednesday and Thursday is alternatives. That there are ways to go.
I mean, what is there, sports? That's aggressive.
No.
I think it is.
No, I'm agreeing with you, but that's not an only way to go. There are many ways to go. There are many alternatives. And that's,
I like reading books.
Okay.
That's...
But, you talk about friends. You talk about, you don't have friends. And that's part of what we're going to talk about because I think people can help.
Yeah.
People is a great substitute for drugs and for loneliness and for boredom. So then the question is, how do you go about finding them? And that's what we're going to talk about on Wednesday and Thursday. As alternatives.
Okay. Yeah.
He was willing to put down anything that anybody over here said. But in 1 minute of talking with him individually, and if I can follow up on that now, I think I can get him to a point where, where his mind is a little more open. Because nobody's ever said to him there are alternatives, that you don't have to sit home and be bored and miserable and lonely. And people have said you don't have to do it, but they've never really helped him to go about finding out how to do it.
If you become a pothead, you risk blowing the most important time of your life, your teenage. That unrepeatable time for you to grow up and to prepare for being an adult that can handle problems and make something meaningful out of life. You're the generation with the brain power and the opportunity to do more for the human needs of this world than any other generation in history. Let's hope that your teenage children don't have too much criticism about what you did or didn't do because you were on pot.
Liz.
Well, I think that if a film presents too negative of an idea, the kids are going to think that there's something that they're leaving out.
Hey, that was so stupid. You see all these guys shooting their heroin all blue in the face and stuff, and you know that's wrong. Well, if you can't believe that, what can you believe? You can't believe any of the films, and all the information is wrong, then you can go out and take it because there's nothing wrong with it.
So if there's one part of the information that's false, then the assumption is that there must be other things that's false.
Yeah. But you can believe your friends because they've taken it, and you know they have. And they say it's good.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
If people are educated on drugs and everything, there isn't that element of the unknown. They know what's going to happen.
But you can't educate them in experience.
Hopefully people can learn from other people's experiences. But the question that Robin raised that's always been a troubling thing for me also is are the people who are most likely to get into trouble with drugs who we'd most like to influence, the people who will be least influenced by the approach that we take to drug education.
I think that all the misconceptions were cleared up right in our class, and everyone wouldn't take drugs anymore. But don't you think that some people who went off drugs and lots, wouldn't they go to something else, something completely different, from drugs to get their kicks or whatever you call it.
Okay, so then that's really saying something about what we're really lacking in this whole thing of drug education. Perhaps we're not really getting to the real underlying causes of why people use drugs and really helping them deal with that. But how about a positive alternative of something that you can do if you're lonely, if you're scared, if you're bored, if there's all kinds of things that may be happening in your life that may lead to drugs? What about helping people get involved with some possible things that can really deal with those problems? I could grab onto somebody else in a relationship, and I could be involved with that person and hang on to that person and not let them go and delude myself into thinking I was in love when I was really just lonely and depressed and alienated and scared. And I could do that for the same motivation that someone might use dope. The big hurdle I have with many kids is that I am an authority figure, a teacher, and they've learned to suspect teachers and those in authority. So we have to spend a great deal of time building a relationship before anything meaningful can start to happen. Sometimes the resistance is so great that I never get through. No, I told her I was sorry for what had happened. I really felt that we could handle the situation, she and I, and we didn't have to involve you or anybody else. And I asked her if she wanted to get together and talk, and she said, yeah, okay, ask me, sometime again. Well, that's the last time I saw her. That was a week ago. I see her every day on campus. I talk to her. I say, you're going to come to class? She says, no, I don't think so. I don't know. And, and we say hello every day in passing, and I haven't seen her in class in a week.
From what I know, I can mention Linda Doggy's name to anybody on campus, and even all of her peer group goes, oh my God, not her again. She's in trouble again. And she's been cutting every single class extensively since the beginning of the semester.
Okay, but I'm not convinced that there is nothing we can do with Linda if we can get to her. And like, I don't know if I can get to her because she's pretty well angry and turned off to me. But I had the feeling when we talked that she wasn't as turned off as her image as she would have liked to have come off. Okay, well, I'm just going to wait then until she shows up again, and when she does, I'm going to see if I can set up something with her to talk with her alone. Concept of the teacher's role is, but in terms of our involvements with students, there seems to be an unwritten law that stops when the bell rings for the end of school, that stops during lunchtime, that our involvement is just on a teacher-student relationship in the classroom, that we'll take papers home, we'll make tests up, but we won't take a kid home, or we won't stay after school, or take a lunch period very often. I mean, once in a while maybe, but not on any kind of a regular basis. We'll lock arms. What you're going to try and do is get out of the group. You have to break out.
It irritates me to be caged in. It's like a game. I felt that you were making a kind of game, and I was a victim of a game. I don't like that.
It seemed to me you didn't even think about it. I mean, your reaction was immediate. Right. I mean, you were going to use force, and that was it.
That's true.
I've always felt that there's a level between what the psychiatrist has to deal with in his office, which may be some really deep-seated serious problem, and the typical problems which kids are having, that if dealt with by teachers, probably wouldn't develop into those serious problems. And we can meet a lot of those needs.
Like my parents can control me, can control me. They are above me.
How can they control you?
I don't know. They can, make demands. They can, threaten. There's a number of ways.
People don't have control over you now as much as they did. Not nearly as much. So you can start behaving a little bit more appropriately for the situation. What my life has been in the last few years have been balancing what I can do here with kids and what I have to do to be a husband and a father and to meet the needs of my wife and children. And for a while, I was pulling away from my family and just, like I characterize it as saving the world, this kid and that kid, everybody had problems and I was getting involved and I was really, I was doing good things, but my marriage was disintegrating. And when my wife finally was able to hit me over the head with that concept, I finally woke up to the fact that, what's going on here in my home is the basis, and that's got to be where it's at. It's really hard to keep perspective, I guess is what I'm saying.
As a student teacher, I think a master teacher in teaching is so important. The last experience I had was, something that almost made me decide to quit teaching. I was so stifled in what I really could do, and I had to have everything, set up as far as classroom, as far I had to be in rows where you really can get close and involved with the kids. You had to have books they had to be assigned to, and they had to have chapters to read every week, and the roll had to be taken every day, which you should take roll, but I think the point where you're reprimanded afterwards if you don't take roll or if you don't start the minute the bell rings is ridiculous.
Come on in.
You don't?
How are you? Good.
In this vast campus of 3,000 people, there are many people who feel like they don't know anybody. They feel alienated. And I think that's the appeal of this kind of thing, is maybe doing things to get people, to break the ice, to get people more involved with each other. I've done this kind of thing before in class, and the reaction is, the people who have an involvement like that tend to feel closer to each other. David? Okay. Sue?
Can we do something like that, do you think?
Well, we could do something like that on a voluntary basis, those who want to. I can do a very simple kind of thing, not as threatening, perhaps, as the things they did in the film. If one of the primary reasons that people go to drugs is alienation, is a need for contact, is a need for involvement, then this kind of thing, not in and of itself, one time, that's not going to replace it. But if people can start to become involved with each other this way, they're saying that this may be an alternative to using drugs. Those who do not wish to be involved can remain in the classroom. And I don't think it's fair to the people outside to have you standing around and gawking at them. So if you'll stay in the classroom and, read or, do, whatever you want to do. To begin with, we're just going to walk around with each other and shake hands. Get around to as many people as you can, non-verbally, no laughing. Okay, now find the hand of somebody who you're next to. Take right hands. Take right hands. Everybody get somebody's right hand. Somebody you're close to. Close your eyes and explore that hand. Get to know that hand. Test the strength in that hand and the tenderness. Have an argument. Stop. Without talking, open your eyes, see who your partner is. See your partner for the first time.
Finding out what the hand is, and then open up your eyes and find out. And then close them again.
Back.
The rewarding thing to me about teaching is that I can have a positive effect on the life of an individual. I can't feel really good about the positive effect I have if I'm just teaching him subject matter, and that's all he's going out of the class with. And so the positive effect that I would like to think that I can have with some students, the ones that I can get involved with, is that I can help them to use the material that they have in an effective way. And an effective way meaning to me, use it in a way that's going to make them happy and increase, to some extent, the happiness and the satisfaction that they can get out of their lives. And there's no way that I could do this just standing up there and being a teacher for 40 minutes a day, one semester of their life.
In terms of income taxes and things like that. So there are insurance. And there are things that are made easier by having